Bear refuses to let baby go. Ranger bursts into tears when he discovers why Peter saw something moving in the distance. He knew he needed to be careful. There had been reports of predators in the area. Peter moved closer to see if it was the bear he was looking for. Then something else caught his attention. He saw the black bear, but the bear was carrying the baby. Peter turned pale. He had never seen this before in his life. He had to ensure the baby was fine. However, there was one huge problem. The bear refused to let the baby go. Peter decided to take a slow approach. All kinds of questions and concerns popped into his head. He had no idea what the bear was doing with the baby. He had no time to waste, but he had to be careful. If the bear got angry, the baby could get seriously hurt. Peter decided to take matters into his own hand. Peter slowly approached the bear from behind. The bear had just put down the baby on the ground. This could be his chance to get the baby to safety. Peter knew that things could end badly if he made one wrong move. Then the bear turned around. The bear turned around. At first Peter thought the bear did not notice him, but then he saw the demeanor of the bear change. This wasn't good at all. Peter felt his heart bouncing inside of his chest. He had never felt fear like this before. Peter had an intense stare down with the bear from his experience. As a ranger, he knew he should not make sudden moves. He had to stand completely still. One wrong move and this could be his end. Then the bear reacted. The bear grabbed the baby instead of lunging toward Peter. He quickly ran away. Peter tried to see where it was going, but it was too fast. He had to quickly inform his fellow rangers to prepare a rescue party for the baby. But there was one problem his fellow rangers did not believe Peter at all. Peter was desperate for help but did not seem to give it up. He insisted that he had seen the bear with a baby. Peter decided he would take matters into his own hands. He had to call the police. Peter had called the police. His fellow rangers all told him to let it go. They all thought Peter was going crazy and seeing things. Peter refused to listen. He had told the police what was going on. They immediately came with every available officer in the area. The first officers on the scene arrived within minutes. They took Peter's call very seriously. More backup would arrive soon. Then Peter's boss told the police officers to come inside his office. When they came out, they ignored Peter and went straight into the forest. More police officers quickly arrived. They told Peter to stay put. They seemed pretty angry. Peter had no idea what was going on. What had his boss told these officers when Peter confronted him? He told Peter to sit down and wait. He would be questioned soon. Peter was confused. The officers came back within a few minutes. Peter was surprised. They surely did not search the entire forest within minutes. Something else must have been going on here. Peter would get the answer soon. When the officer stepped into the office, Peter was questioned about the bear he had supposedly seen. They also asked him about the baby. Peter knew what he had seen and nobody seemed to take him seriously. He had to get to the bottom of this. The police told Peter they would leave soon and that they did not find this funny. Peter broke down. Peter was forbidden to leave the office and his boss still wanted to talk to him. He got really emotional due to all the stress that he was experiencing. Peter burst into tears. He demanded from his boss that they would go look for the baby. But there was something else that would shock Peter even more. Peter was suspended. He could not work as a ranger anymore. His boss told him Peter did feel like the world was against him. His boss and fellow rangers believed something truly horrible was happening with Peter, that he saw things due to traumatic events in his life. They then tried to get Peter to go to therapy. He had just lost his baby with his wife, that is why no one believed him. They thought this trauma was still fresh and that he imagined a bear with his own baby. Peter all told them this wasn't the case. Then he had a plan. He would figure this out. Followed by himself. Peter was determined to find out the truth. He wasn't allowed to go into the forest anymore, but he did not care. The well-being of the baby was the only thing on his mind. His wife tried to stop him, but she knew it was futile. Peter went to the forest anyways. Peter decided he would go to the forest early in the morning. He knew no one would be watching the forest edge then, so he could get in without trouble. He just needed to do one more thing. Before he could go, he went over to his best friend Jacob, a fellow ranger. He was surprised to see Peter. He had heard what had happened. Peter explained the whole story to him. They had to get to the forest to rescue the baby. Jacob was skeptical. He did not want to join. Then Peter broke down. Jacob had never seen Peter in this state. He was very reluctant to go along with Peter. But he felt like he had no other option. He had to watch his friend. Maybe Peter would hurt himself. Jacob told Peter he would go with him. This could have been a disastrous decision. Peter kept rambling about the baby and the bear on their way to the forest. Jacob kept thinking that Peter had gone completely delusional. He felt the need to call out for help, but something kept him from doing this. When they finally arrived at the spot Peter had seen the bear, Jacob spotted something. Jacob spotted some tracks in the distance. He was instantly intrigued by what he had found. He had heard of bears being in the area, but this was definitely something larger than normal. They had indeed found black bear tracks. Jacob started to believe that Peter had at least seen the bear. He was still doubtful about the baby. Now that both Jacob and Peter were on the same page, they knew they had to be careful. Black bears are no joke, and if he indeed kept a human baby with him, who knows what it is capable of doing? Jacob shouted to Peter that he had found more tracks. After following the bear's path, Jacob suddenly lost track. He had no idea where the bear could have gone. He was completely lost. It could not have vanished into thin air. Peter was looking around. He grew more desperate. This cannot be. Out of nowhere they heard a roar. Jacob froze. It was really close. Peter was now sure they were in the territory of the bear. The bear had probably smelled the two men. They had to be extremely careful. Peter started walking towards the noise. Then Jacob pulled him back. Peter looked Jacob straight in the face. He actually looked terrified. Jacob did not want to move any closer to the bear. He urged Leader to actually call for backup, but Peter refused. Everybody let him down, so why should he trust them now? Jacob really wants to go back. He heard noises in the distance. It was like the bear was slowly approaching them. Jacob told Peter he would not go with him. He is way too scared of something happening to him. Peter wasn't planning on backing down. Peter eventually convinced Jacob to stay close to him. If they are two men strong, they are less likely to get attacked. They both had no gear on them, so they could not sedate the bear. When they spotted it, someone had to distract it. Reluctantly, Jacob followed Peter. Peter was convinced they were close right now. He already felt a lot of adrenaline. He had to get the baby from the bear. There was no way back now. This is the only thing on his mind. Then Jacob gasped. They spotted a cave in the distance. It was definitely no ordinary cave. They picked up the tracks again from the bear. They went straight into the cave. This was definitely a bear cave. Peter tried to slowly creep forward. Then he suddenly froze. Peter spotted the bear in the distance. He was totally shaken. He knew he wasn't going crazy. Jacob was now totally convinced as well. He was even more scared than he was before. This was totally out of his comfort zone. They should not have been there. There was no sign of the baby. Jacob tried convincing Peter to get back to the ranger's office to make sure they could help out as well. But Peter is extremely stubborn. He felt like he had to prove something, but he still needed to spot the baby. Then he heard a noise. Out of nowhere they heard crying coming out of the cave. The bear seemed to react and it went inside the cave. Moments later he came out and the crying had stopped. Peter now knew for sure that the baby was inside the cave. Then the bear turned his head towards Jacob. Jacob. It's spotted by the bear. This is a really tense situation. Jacob did not know how to react. Peter tells Jacob to just freeze, but Jacob is so extremely scared that he starts walking back. Then the bear reacted and started charging Jacob. The bear was now quickly charging toward Jacob. Peter tried to distract the bear, but only seemed interested in Jacob. Jacob now had no other option but to get away from this place as fast as possible. This could be a life-threatening situation. Jacob runs away as fast as he possibly can. He hears the bear gaining on him. The worst possible thing happens. Jacob trips. He quickly got back onto his feet and climbed into a tree. The bear tries to get Jacob out of the tree, but it seems like Jacob got to safety. This is the moment for Peter to react. Peter is all by himself now. He sees a clear path to the cave. He hears Jacob screaming in the distance, but he feels like it is more important to go get the baby. He feels like Jacob is fine. He starts slowly walking towards the cave when he hears Jacob screaming that the bear is coming back. Peter has no time to waste. He has to get inside the cave immediately. Without thinking, he starts running towards the entrance of the cave. He does not hear the bear anywhere close, so he knows he has some time to save the baby. Peter finally reaches the cave. It is really dark inside. Peter quickly grabs his phone out of his pocket to get some light. He doesn't know where to go. Then he suddenly hears some noise from deeper inside the cave. He starts walking towards it. Then he sees something that shocks him to the core. He finally spots the baby. Peter quickly runs towards the baby, who seems unharmed at first glance. Peter is relieved and proud. But then he realizes he must get out of the cave as quickly as possible. He has no time to waste. He hears noises in the distance. Peter realizes that the bear is coming back. He quickly turns off his light. He hears the bear walking around inside the cave. Peter thinks the bear realizes that the baby is gone. Then the baby suddenly starts crying. Peter tries to calm the baby, but it is too late. Peter realizes the bear has spotted. When turning on his light, he stares the bear right into his face. Peter is now backed into a corner by the bear. Peter is still holding the baby. The bear seems to be very careful approaching Peter. Then Peter hears more noises. Out of nowhere, the bear seems to fall asleep. Peter realizes that the bear has been shot by some sedation darts. He then hears a whole lot of noises around him without realizing it. More rangers started running inside the cave to rescue Peter. Jacob had called them right before they went into the forest, but they weren't done yet. They still had no idea where the parents were from. No missing baby had been reported by the police. The rangers took the baby to the nearest hospital with the help of the police. Peter got his apologies, but he was determined to get to the bottom of this mystery. They would soon uncover everything. The baby was checked at the hospital. Immediately upon arriving, a group of doctors took the baby in for inspection. Peter refused to let the baby get out of his sight. The police allowed Peter to stay with the baby. They also took a DNA sample to identify the baby. After a lot of checks, it appeared that the baby was healthy. Every hour Peter checked if there had already been results from the lab. He heard that they took the bear and as well to inspect it. Peter had not slept for 24 hours. When he finally got some news, but it was not the news he was hoping for. The bear was let go back into the forest and Peter was glad that the animal was safe. But what about the baby? Nobody was looking for it. Peter felt desperate. His wife had arrived as well and urged him to rest. Then a police captain called Peter into an office. They had determined that the bear had kept the baby safe. It was well fed and no harm was done to the baby. They also had found out something else as well. The DNA results. To come back, when the police captain told Peter the whole story, he burst into tears. Unfortunately, the parents of the baby had been found in the forest. They had apparently had a fatal car crash. After the crash, the bear took the baby in. They also could not find any family. Peter did not know what to see. Then he looked at his wife and they both knew what had to be done. They eventually adopted the child and raised it to be their own. Peter and his wife had never been happier in their lives. Peter got his job back as a ranger and felt on top of the world. Eventually his son became a ranger as well, just like his dad. What did you think about this story? If you like the video, subscribe the channel and press the bell icon.